Hey, Clay Nation, Mike Camping here with everybody's favorite guest, Jackson Picky Pinkowski. Today we are talking marketing and specifically the number one killer for marketing in cleaning company owners. Jackson, I don't think we had a debate, but spoiler alert, it is data or lack of data or basically not having the data and not knowing what to do with the data when you get it. Jackson was like, I think it's them as marketers, them as owners. And I think it's the same thing, right? Because we don't get data because we want to go based on drama. We want to go with our gut, right? It's easier, so much easier to get on the phone with any salesperson, find any software, any marketing channel. They will have a salesperson that will jump on the call with you and say, if you buy our stuff, Facebook, local service ads, Nextdoor, telemarketing, billboards, the list goes on and on. And those are all fine. Like, I'm not saying any of those are bad, but if the problem is the positioning is if you give us money, some version of, we'll be able to get you leads and then Angie's List, Yelp, all that stuff. And then we give the money and we're disillusioned when we didn't get the results that we want. The problem is we never really quantified what exact results that we wanted over what time frame and if that's a reasonable expectation. Because we're talking with a salesperson who, to be fair to them, I'm sure they have people that spend 10 times what you spend and less than what you spend in lots of different industries. So it's hard for them to say you will or won't get results. They can just give you the best results they've gotten from people that may have spent a lot more than you or just are in a different situation. So when it comes to data, the first thing we need to do is lay out reasonable expectations, right? I think we kind of get sold and be like, I'm going to spend $500 or $1,000 on Facebook, or again, fill in the blank with whatever fine marketing tool you want. And then I don't think we ever say this, but in the back of our mind, we're like, I'm going to get a bunch of clients. Like, I'm going to get 10 calls. They're all going to sign up. It's going to be amazing. And then what really happens is maybe we do get 10 calls. And of those 10 calls, maybe 6 of them aren't in our area, or they're just looking for they're just bad, right? And then maybe 1 or 2 of them, they're okay leads, but we got off on the wrong foot, or we handled them wrong, or we didn't get back with them quick enough. Like, we, on the residential side, time, speed of leads, pretty important. And then they don't buy. And then maybe of the 2 that we do get a hold of, we only set 1 bid and maybe that guy doesn't buy. And then we say stuff like, I did Facebook and it doesn't work, right? Because we didn't set any expectations other than this general sense of, I'm going to spend money. We kind of want this lead thing, right? Where I'll get old for a second. We fax over our order. If you don't know what that is, reach out later. I'll tell you later, Jackson, what a fax is. And, 17 leads, please. And then we send them I'll stay in 1987. We send them a check for, $419. And then they fax us back the name and email. And we just called in, hey, Jack, I got you from the lead store. Are you ready to buy? And Jackson goes, sure am. Glad you called, friend. Here's my credit card. Or, let's get this thing sorted. And it doesn't work out that way. And then as opposed to maybe my expectations are wrong. Maybe I didn't handle maybe my messaging was wrong. Maybe I didn't get enough data or testing to know what was wrong. Maybe, there's 1,000 things that could be true in there. We just go, I tried faxing to the lead store and it didn't work. And then we go on to the next thing. Making the same mistakes. We're not really clear on what results we should get, what data we need, if things are winning or losing before we get a client, what percentage of leads should be what we would call acceptable. And then we say stuff like, I spent money over there and all the leads were bad, but we didn't track it. So what happens is 7 leads were the way we would define bad, but if we listen to the call, really 4 leads were bad, i.e. they're not in our area, or they're, there's some sort of service we don't provide or whatever. 3 leads, we just didn't handle it properly. And then we just didn't do any data. So then because the hard thing is to go, my sales process or my the process I have is broken, which the data will show us. We don't want any of that, because that sounds like a lot of work. So we just say things like the lead store doesn't work, fill in the blank with Facebook or whatever. So it really is a combination of, I guess my answer is a little more superficial with lack of data, and Jackson's answer is probably a little more thoughtful with how we look at marketing, right? We kind of have expectations that are unreasonable. And when the marketing resources we choose don't meet our unreasonable expectations, instead of changing our expectations or getting clearer on what's going on, we just blame them. All right. We're a good 5 minutes in, and Jackson's just sat there going, I'm so glad I'm your guest on the show. Would you like me just to watch you talk? He is a person. He is smarter than I am. He does speak. Jackson, jump in with your perspective on, is data or lack thereof, or lack of how we use it, the biggest problem in marketing? If not, what is it? And how do owners of cleaning companies kind of, I don't want to say do it right, but get better results and have a better experience with marketing?
Yeah, I always boil things down to like its simplest of terms, or its simplest of like what is actually the root cause of the issue. And it's like, yeah, my marketing isn't working. Well, why isn't it working? Well, nobody's buying. Well, why aren't they buying? Why aren't they clicking? Well, the video sucks. Well, why does the video suck? Because I didn't take the time to realize it. And it does, I say it boils down to you as the problem, but it's not really a problem, I guess. Or it is. It's a very easy to fix problem. But you said something, you talked about expectations, and expectations are really huge. And I anticipate a lot of people are listening to this and thinking, well, how do I know my expectations? How do I know what I don't know? And that's really important, because in marketing, you don't know jack. Everything's an informed decision, especially when you're just starting. And especially
it's an uninformed decision.
Yeah, it's an uninformed. You're going off of, what I've heard through the grapevine or what other people have done. And it's really, really important that you hope for the best and expect the worst, right? Or plan for the worst. So in marketing, you want it to do well. You're working really hard for it to do well. But you also have to be content. I don't want to say happy, but content if it does absolutely nothing. Because even when it does nothing, if you're truly understanding the data and truly tracking and taking that emotion out of it, taking yourself out of it, looking at it like data from Star Trek. If you've ever watched Star Trek, I love Star Trek. Looking at it like a computer, like a robot. That's when you'll see, well, I didn't actually lose. I actually gained a lot of information. This offer doesn't work. These door hangers don't look good. People don't like seeing my face on a Facebook ad, or my billboard on the side of the factory does not work well because it's on the side of a factory. And I know this because of the data I have. And you took yourself out of the equation, as opposed to just saying, oh man, woe is me. Life sucks. I'm never going to do any type of this stuff again. Because when you set yourself up for that kind of understanding, the likelihood of your next attempt working really well or working better, much better than your first attempt is like 99% a sure thing. And I can say that with confidence, because when you learn, and now your uninformed decisions are starting to become informed decisions, you'll start to see that growth in the marketing, because you have that data, because you have that understanding of what's working, why it's not working, and how can I change to make it fit something that's going to make sense for my customers.
Let me give an example in social media, because I think that's a perfect example of something we dip our foot into. Quote unquote, it doesn't work, and then we quit or give up or say it doesn't work. What we start with is we'll look at some competitor, somebody that's got a video that's got 50,000 views, or 100,000 views, or a following of 20,000 people. And we make a video and it gets 17 views and we have 9 followers, and we work really hard and we make 9 videos over the span of a month, and then we get a combined 1,000 views and 18 followers and declare this doesn't work. The reality is you might need to make 100 videos, and of those 100, if you just keep making them and don't get any data, it's not going to go anywhere. But if you make 5 videos a week, 1 every day, and you look at the ones that do a little better, and you go, okay, what about this got better? And you found out it's when I'm in my car, they seem to like it, or like Jackson, when it's my face or not my face, or whatever the case may be. You will get, just like Jackson said, you will get better if you just do enough time and looking at the data. But the data we have is nobody called and bought anything, therefore quote, it doesn't work, as opposed to, I only did 9 videos. The person that's got this 20,000. And are there examples of somebody putting up a first video or whatever and it going viral? Sure. And did they ever tend to build that into something real. Not often. It's possible, but not likely. It's just like anything else, right? We see the overnight millionaire that took 20 years of building that skill set, and then we just see him making a video or this or starting something that works right away because he's got so much data. He's really good at discerning what works and what doesn't work. Just like when Jackson and I start ads, they work. I don't know. Well, you tell me, Jack. I mean, I would say maybe, yeah, I'll give you the difference. I'll make up some numbers, Jackson. Please correct me if you think they're wrong. For our clients, if they're doing stuff on their own, I mean, goodness gracious, I'm going to say 0%, but probably less than 20% of the time are they get, well, it's hard to even say because when I say the word work, it's like, well, what does that even mean, right? Like almost 0% of the time are they going to run an ad, spend $500 and get a $500 recurring client off of that $500 spend right out of the gate without any help, right? Maybe it's 0 to 10% of the time. Truth be told, if we are helping them and we're really good at this, I mean, tell me if I'm overstating in Jackson, they might win 0 to 30% of the time. If winning is that, say, the standard of I spent $500 over the span of a month and I got a $500 recurring client, are those reasonable kind of ranges of what might work? Like they might have a 0 to 10% chance, and with us, they might have a 0 to 20% chance.
Yeah, I would definitely say 0 to 10, but working with us, I'm like, I'll toot my own horn. I'll say like 50-60% chance. Like
first time out, only $500, only a month.
I can do a lot with $500 and a dedicated person.
All right, we're gonna just say Jackson. We'll meet in the middle. We'll say a quarter of the time it works. I was 0 to 20. You know, Jackson has obviously closer to the data than I am.
Hey Clean Nation, Mike Campion here. One of my least favorite things about these podcasts are we found that people love the show and they love the information, but when I talk to you guys in person, stuff doesn't get done. People love the podcast, but they don't take any action. If you'd like to actually implement this and get this done in your world, we have a whole team of people that do exactly that. If you go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, you can book a time with either myself personally or one of our teammates to at least help you come up with a plan to actually implement and change your life. So if you want to go from getting these good ideas in your head to getting them in your life, just book a free call with myself or my team, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, and we can go from this one-to-many format to one-to-one and really get you some results. Excited to talk.
The more exciting part, because I would say that first month and that first $500 is not what's important. Like we always tell people on the hiring funnel, sometimes it takes a week or 2 or 3, sometimes it takes 5 or 6. But if you do the thing, you always get results. And everyone in the middle are like, I want results faster. And it's like, same with weight loss, right? Say you want to lose 20 pounds. Well, we all want to lose 20 pounds in 2 months. What if it took 6 months, but if it took, we got head off in 2 weeks, but we gained it back in a month. Would you rather that? Or what if it took 3 months, but it was off forever? I think we'd all go, well, I want the 3 months. Those are my options. Same thing with marketing. What if you had a 100% chance of winning that first $500 in the first month, but a 20% chance of it ever working again? It's like, well, that's not really solving the problem. So the second scenario is going to give, if we had 3 months and $1,500, $500 a month, first of all, I don't even want to say the percentage of people that were kind of doing it on their own, because we see almost 0 that continue. They give up. Like maybe they would win, maybe they wouldn't, right? But we don't even know, because 100% of the people that stop get 0 results. Once you stop, it's over. So hard to even speculate, because our clients, the people that we don't work with, we just don't see them doing it 3 months. They just get on the same thing, testing it based on data, like really kind of doing it in a cold-blooded database fashion, not emotional. If I did this and I like this and everyone sucks and the leads are terrible, half of what Jackson does isn't even marketing. He's just talking people off the ledge when they go, these leads suck. And they go, hold on, how many leads were they? When you say so, well, none of them spoke English. Okay, let's look at okay, well, 2 of them didn't speak English. We get down to the actual data, you can get them off the cliff. So I mean, I can't imagine it's 100%, but well over 80, probably over 90%, Jackson, if the people do what we ask them to do over 3 months, and I'm just using Facebook, there's lots of different platforms. Yeah. 90% of the time, they're going to be able to have a positive, we get at least one, if not, we now have a platform where more often than not, we can have that positive first month ROI. Is that fair, or am I overstating?
No, 100%. 100%. Usually the cutoff is like 2 weeks. People usually stop after 2 weeks.
And that's with us kind of encouraging them, and Jackson, I got you. This is normal. And being in a group of people, seeing other people that have done it for 2 months and getting good results, they still quit after 2 weeks. Yeah. So obviously it's hard for us to say what people do without us, because by definition, we're not working with them, so we can't see it. So we're extrapolating on that end. But the whole point I was trying to make is I think the biggest shift, so if I can be so bold, Jackson and I are both right. It's a data problem that's spurred on by the way that we treat the data or expectations. So if I had to boil it down, step one would be to really have reasonable expectations. And if those expectations are, I'm going to spend very little amount, I'm going to like all the leads that I talk to and make money right away, you're probably going to be unhappy. I'll speak for myself instead of Jackson. If I said, and he's better at IM than a lot of this stuff. If I did it, I think I would. If that was my standard, I'm gonna make money right away. And we do in my own business. Like we don't, it takes, we test a lot of stuff, right? You might have to test 3 ads to get one good one. And depending on what your budget is, that test, could take a month. The more money you have, the quicker you go, but that be that as it may. So first, just understand, depending on the marketing platform you're going, there's different data points. We'll go kind of least complex to most complex. Least complex would be door hangers, right? Just super low. Well, you got a couple variables. What doors do you hang them on, right? If you put them on the wrong doors of people that can't afford it, then obviously that's going to be a problem. But assuming you have them on the right doors, people that generally want and can afford cleaning service or high propensity towards that, pretty much the only other thing is, what's the offer? Like, how's it look? That's it. So there's not a lot to, there's 2 levers. Well, I guess within the door hanger, it's like, what's the copy? What's the offer? What's the aesthetic? But it's pretty much, what's the door hanger say? What's the offer? Is it readable? What's the call to action? So there's still 3 or 4 or 5 levers, right? Like if you have it, it's a older crowd and the phone number is really small, or it's the printing you have is like a yellow on orange or something where it's hard to read. That could be it. If it's, even if everything else is right, if you've got everything that looks amazing and is very readable, but your offer is not appealing, that could be the problem. So that's the simplest one. And there's still 3 or 4 variables. When you go to a more complex automated feature, and we're kind of on the residential side with this one, with Facebook ads, where it's like, I've got to have add to cold traffic, maybe to a landing page, to either a call or an appointment or whatever the case may be. It's like, well, first of all, Facebook's got a near infinite amount of people it can show it to. So you've got to tell it how to pick who to show it to. And then you've got to say what's in the ad. And the ad's got the creative, the picture, or the video, or whatever you're doing. And then the verbiage. And then you've got to pick the call to action. Is it the DM? Is it to click here? Is it whatever? And then once they go there, you've got to be like, then what happens? And if it's a landing page. So, there can be 4 or 5 or 6 different steps in there. And a lot of times we just quit before there's enough data. People hang up 200 door hangers and go, I only had 2 calls and they both sucked. Like, well, hang up 20,000, we'll get some real data. Same with Facebook. I spent $100, I got 11 clicks and nobody did anything. It's like, well, yeah, because we don't even know what we're doing. So step 1 would just be have reasonable expectations of, just like Jackson said, I'm not looking to get rich today. I'm looking to get a bunch of data that'll help me get rich forever, right? I don't need to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. I want to lose 20 pounds in however long it takes and keep it off forever. All right. I feel like I've exhausted, without getting too much in detail or off track, what I've got. Jackson, if you would just kind of sum up and pack it into the best you can for the people going away, ready to be like, okay, now what? How do I take action? How do I, what's the next steps?
I kind of had this conversation with somebody this week. So they were like, we need to do marketing. I'm like, okay, great. That is so broad. What does that mean? Because really, yeah, I'm a big pad and paper guy. I write everything down. I don't really type it out. So I have my notebooks, and I like to, when I have to go through things like this, I want to work backwards. I want to write it out and work backwards. It's like, what is my end goal? Like, and when I say end goals, I know I want 5 new recurring customers, or I want 10. And it's like, okay, for this month, let me cut that into a third, because I am going to look at it a 3-month thing. If it's 10, let me see if I can add 3 this month. And then working backwards from there, like, what do I need to do to get to that 3? How many people do I need to talk to? How many bids do I need to do? If you're just starting out, you won't know this. But you need to have that understanding. Just start putting some numbers to it. Start putting some ideas together, and you're not going to get 3 leads, 3 bids, 3 sales. I'll tell you that. That's not going to happen. As much as you want it to, it won't happen. But
to make it easier, put the amount. A lot of times we put what we'd like to see happen, just like Jackson said. Well, if I get 3 bids, everyone I talk to buys. And when we say everyone, we're talking about the last 3 people that were best friend referrals of our current clients. I go, yeah, of course they bought, but this isn't that. So instead of putting what you'd like to see happen in some perfect world, like I fax over my order to the lead store, or the customer store, they fax me back customers. Got it. We all understand that's what you want. Here's the way I would frame it. What would I have to do that it would be unreasonable for me not to succeed? So like Jackson said, if I want 3 customers this month, recurring customers, how many bids would I have to give? I know ideally 3 would be perfect. Well, and then you go, well, I'm sure I could do it if I get 5. Would it be unreasonable? Is it reasonable that you could do 5 and still not succeed? Yeah, I could. All right. What about 10? Well, gee, many Christmas. If I gave 10 bids, 3 would have to buy. I mean, it would be unreasonable. Okay, now we got ourselves a number, right? And it's okay if you actually only end up doing 6 or 7, because it's fine. We overshot. But when you plan on 5 and you need to do 9, you get discouraged. So when you're picking, especially if you're at the beginning, you don't have data, just go, what would I have to do, or just be unreasonable for me not to hit my goal? And then, like, to give 10 bids, how many leads would I have to give? Ideally 10. But you know, when we're planning, we're like, everything's going to work perfectly. And then when the leads come in, we're like, all these leads suck. So it's like, maybe 20 is reasonable. If I got 20 leads, is it likely I'll give 10 bids? Yeah. But would it be unreasonable for me to fail? How much? Well, gosh, if I had 30 leads, it would be unreasonable for me. So I go with what would be unreasonable for me to fail, as opposed to what's kind of my hopeful situation. Sorry, Jackson, finish this up.
No, that's perfect. And then from there, yeah, I guess to just tack onto the unreasonable, like what is a surefire way that you know you can at least start to get your offer, your service, your product in front of 30 plus people to start that process? And what does that look like? Is that Facebook? Is that going out to local fairs? Is that posting on Facebook groups? It doesn't have to be an expense related thing. It can be free, but you want to find what's the immediate thing that would most likely get me to that, put me in front of those 30 people in the most efficient way possible. And the most, you don't want to just spend money to spend money, but if you can do it cost effectively, you can find the people. If you know, like, hey, these are my people, my customers who I want, this is where they're hanging out, this is how I can get in front of them. That's your starting point. And then you just look at it based off of now when you start it, you have all the numbers in front of you. You work off of that. Takes your emotion right out of it. You're not guessing. You're not pulling straws out of a hat, trying to wonder what works.
Cool. I'll leave you with this bonus. While we're continuing with the unreasonable theme, same with the offer. What would be unreasonable for someone to say no to, right? So we go, we do $25 off their first clean. It would be wildly reasonable for someone to say no, thank you.
$25 off of what?
Right. Or 10% off, or we'll clean 1 bathroom for free to show you how good we are. Like, those are so reasonable to say no to, right? An unreasonable to say no to offer is, we will do your first clean, pay us whatever you think is fair. And for any reason, if you're not happy with the experience, even if you pay us nothing, we'll buy you a bouquet of flowers and give $100 to your favorite charity. That is very unreasonable to say no to. Now, I just made that up, and I'm not, you'd have to test an offer. I'm not saying that's a perfect offer, but I just want to give you the realm of things that would be unreasonable for someone to say no to, right? And and the cool thing is, if you start that, I'd rather test something unreasonable, because again, say I'm going to spend $500 a month, maybe I only spend $200 or $300 on traffic and $200 or $300 on this unreasonable list where I'm just buying gifts for people, and find out, okay, that was too unreasonable. But most of the time, you're not going to go too unreasonable. And for some reason, we give $500 to Facebook and don't get any customers. We are okay with it, but we do a free clean. We do $500 worth of free cleaning, and they cost $100 of free cleaning labor, and we do 5 free cleans, and 4 people say no, which is not going to happen if you do it right. And 1 person signs up for a $500 a month service. We're angry. We got screwed by those 4 people. It's a bad deal. It's like, was it? We get $500 to Facebook. It's no big deal. So again, when you're thinking how many leads, how many bids, how many sales, what offer you're going to make, just figure out, what would I have to do to make it unreasonable for me not to succeed. And bad news is, a lot of times it'll be something scary or more work than you were hoping to do. Good news is, it'll be unreasonable for you not to succeed, which feels pretty good. All right, guys, I know we tried to jam about 10 hours worth of content in 20 minutes here. If you need more help, feel free to reach out to us, myself, Jackson, Facebook, podcast, Instagram, growmycleaningcompany.com. We're here for you. Talk soon. See ya.
Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.